Alright, so today I'm going to be messing with the steering, get a few other things done, and make some progress. So, here we go. With the front axle in, started checking stuff out. The rear end is pointing up at 9 degrees. Put the motor in, it didn't change a whole lot. It's 4 degrees instead of 3. But you got the front axle in, and so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rear axle out and cut the perches off and straighten that out and get those at 4 degrees along with the motor, and tack everything back in there. Alright, the rear end's out. Time to cut the perches off again. Alright, I got my perches popped off of here again. So I gotta grind everything down and prepare it for being welded back on. Yeah, that's why you never fully weld till you are sure. I mean, I guess I thought I was sure, but obviously I wasn't. Alright, so I'm under the rear of the truck. The perches are loose right now. I left a little bit of weld on the outside of each one of them to keep them in place as far as width went. So, and this is how I am checking my pinion angle. So right now it's sitting virtually flat, about a half a degree. So 89, not quite 90. So we'll go for 87, 86 actually, because I want to set it at 4 degrees. We're at 2.75, 2.8. Another little pump. You make sure everything's clean. You're not putting it on like a chunk of rust or something. 3.75. Little bump, little bump. Oops. 4.10. I'm gonna call that good. So right now I got my jack is under here holding this at virtually 4, and I got my welds on the outside there. I got my U-bolts are loose. I'm sitting on the garage floor instead of being outside at all because the blacktop out there is screwed up, and the floor in here is as close to flat as I'm going to get. So I got the welds on the outside, keeping them pushed out. I got this rolled up. I'm at my 4 degrees. So it's time to tack the perches back down. Alright, so I'm gonna put the original shaft back in here, but we're gonna cut it down because out of the parts bin from a 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee I have this, which fits on the box but doesn't extend all the way up, and this has got a joint and stuff anyway, so we're just going to try to knock this pin out and see how far that shaft will go in here, if it does at all, and see if this is, I don't even know what this is, make sure that it's something I can weld on. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. It could be aluminum potentially, and yeah, figure out something from there. I mean, if I gotta buy something, I gotta buy something, but otherwise we're just gonna cut this down and sleeve it together. I'll take and sleeve that onto that if I have to. Now I also have this drop pitman arm that I have from probably the same 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now it was already obviously a drop already, and somebody put this ridiculous probably 2-inch block in there and dropped it even more. And I don't know how good that's going to be on the steering and all that, but so for the drag link on the Super Duty, I actually ended up drilling this to 3/4 and then taking a P grinder bit and opening it up a little bit for the oh geez, where are you? There it is, right in front of my face, for that taper. I'm only getting in there about that far right now, but the original hole on this right here wasn't even big enough to accept this threaded part. So I'm gonna get that opened up. I'm gonna get this down to where it at least comes down to there. I might go get something else so I can get the taper accurate. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get steering set up today too. Alright, well, so he's out there cutting that one up. I'm gonna put this one in here and get ready to measure it. Alright, so now we got the original piece of shaft of the steering shaft here. So boom, that's gonna go there. I got the one off of a Grand Cherokee, a 90s Grand Cherokee right here that we cut, and alright, so we got this one here that is off the Grand Cherokee. Here's the M715 shaft, and I mean, it doesn't get much tighter. There is not a lot of play there, and that is going to be, it was like it was meant to be. So I'm going to get this in place here and weld it together. Alright, so this will be what I'm looking at here. I'm just going to raise it up just a hair, and I'm going to weld this in there. It couldn't have worked out any better. I mean, that's a pretty good fit. Alright, so I just got that tacked together, but there we go. Boom, boom, boom. So what I've been working on over here is I had drilled the hole out in here because before the thread for this wouldn't even go through there. It was too big. So I drilled this out to 3/4 with a step bit, and now I'm very accurately opening it up to the taper of that. And by accurately, I mean not accurate at all. So we'll see how that works out. Well, I've been a little busy here. We built the steering shaft. I thought I was gonna have problems with the original steering geometry. I'm gonna do something to alleviate that. We are touching a little bit on the drag link, but I thought I was gonna have to cut the drag link down, that it was way too long. But once I screwed everything together and put it in here and put my steering box on center, everything is actually sitting really nice. The wheels are straight, the box is centered, the steering wheel is centered, and this looks good. Steering is in. I just have to tighten everything down and figure out what's next. So when we were in the center hole, you know, even though I had this at like 4.5 when I welded the perches on, when you actually bolt everything together and do all that kind of stuff, I guess it winds up being a little bit different. So we moved it to that hole, which rotated the axle a little bit, brought me back down to about 4 degrees. The motor is sitting at about 4 degrees also. I don't know if I'm going to move anything and bring it back to 3 or not, or if I'm just going to line up the front end with that and run with it. I think that might be a good option at this moment. Otherwise, I'm going to have to cut the mounts loose, which isn't too big of a deal, but I think it'll be okay with the 4 degrees. 4 degrees on the rear end, and the way the front end is pitched, I should have a pretty good angle on my front drive shaft too. Yeah, it's crazy. I stand here looking at this, and now, you know, I screwed around so long on the front axle that once I got that set, it just opened up being able to do everything else, because for whatever reason that was holding me back. So like I said, I'm about to set the rear axle to the engine, 4 degrees, 4 degrees. I'm not going to move the motor. I'm going to leave it where it's at. And the front axle set and the rear axle is about to be set. And I didn't think I had the stuff to do anything with steering, but like I said already, I was just sitting in here, and then all of a sudden I just started slapping everything on there and figured out that I had this stuff, and put it all together, and it actually sits quite well. I might cut that leaf that I took out to the size of the perch and put that in there. It's 5/16 of an inch, so that'll put me up 5/16 of an inch, and that'll clear the drag link here on the full-on right turns. So I'm just hoping, like I said, that this pitman arm isn't too much. So all right, yeah, I'm happy I'm making progress right now. That opens me up to hooking up the wiring harness on the motor and getting all that stuff going, and getting the clutch pedal hooked up, and start to finalize some things here. You know, driveline, build some drive shafts, and I got all that stuff. It's all sitting right here, just drive shaft in a box, waiting to be cut down and built. So all right, I'm gonna set the rear end and get back to it. Kind of funny that it worked out that way. I got the rear end set at 4 degrees. I got the engine set at 4 degrees. And I got the front end set at 4 degrees. So next I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. Well, these are going to come out either way, because for me to get any kind of shroud that might go around that, I'm going to have to get them out of the way, since the fans dip down, and you know, there's enough room between here. I'm going to leave that there, but these are coming out. Also, to get to my power steering lines here, they're right underneath there, so here we go. So I've pretty much been just sitting here looking at this thing and thinking on what I'm going to do now, and you know, I was going to stick the gas tank back in, but then it was like, well, I'm fuel injected. I had to think about that, and the feed coming off that gas tank is just too small, plus I need a return, so I'd need a fuel cell. So my next move here is I was gonna throw the tank back in, but there's no point in doing that. I decided to go with the carburetor, so I'm gonna pull the motor out and get the intake off of there, and mount this to the transmission and figure out where I'm gonna put my holes in the cross member. So I got carburetors and stuff. I just got to get an intake for this thing. A couple of used ones on Facebook for 75 bucks to 100 bucks. So I'm gonna go pick up one of those. And all right, so I had stuck the motor in. I was sitting at about 4 degrees. I'm cool with that, so we're just gonna rotate the axle to 4 degrees. I have a new transmission mount, actual GM one. I guess the off-brand ones are shorter. Decided against using the fuel injection because I still want to use this tank. I bought stuff to use this tank stuff, so we're gonna just, you know, fix the rubber on them and whatever else. I mean, that's nothing there, but I have bought an intake off Marketplace, and oh geez, where are you? There it is. And I have this, so I got to clean this thing up and make sure this is in operating order. And we're going to run the, I do believe this is a Holly 4-barrel. Yep, right there. Boom. The wind intake. It's just much simpler. In the end, I don't have to put either cut that up or put a fuel cell in the bed. And I still want to use, I got the new filler neck right there, all that stuff. And maybe someday I'll do that, drop an LS in it and do all that. But all right, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share for more progress on the M715. Have a good day.